Hello, welcome back to another Theory Thursday. Today we are talking about what it means to bring out the chord changes in your solos. We're going to talk about what it means to play over top the changes and what does it mean to play inside the changes and why one might be a little bit better depending on your situation. So I got my Timex Easy Reader on. I got my gray tweed tie on today. So that's what we're going with. If you've been enjoying these, as always, like and subscribe. You can hit that little bell if you want to stay in the loop. It'll let you know when new videos are posted. And of course, you already know about the book. So without further ado, we're looking at the tune All of Me today, just as an example. And yeah, let's go. Okay, so what just happened here? The tune is All of Me, 1931, Seymour Simon's Gerald Marks, one of the most popular jazz standards of all time. That's why it's in the real book. So first I played the head, the melody that everyone knows. Then I took a chorus through the whole song, just soloing. And the point of the video today, as you know from the intro, is how do you bring out the chord changes in your solos? Now, first, we have to decipher what that even means. So when you're soloing, and this goes whether you're on a solo instrument, right? If it's just you on piano or on guitar or whatever, or if you're playing with a group, right? This applies to both situations. You can look at soloing in two different ways. You can think of it as playing over top of the changes, or you can think of it as playing inside the changes. Okay, that's the two categories, right? And you can go outside and switch back and forth and all that, but simply put, those are the two options, okay? So, and it becomes even more important when you're playing solo, because you don't have that structure of a bass or a piano to outline the form of the song. So when you're playing solo, you really got to play in the changes. So what do I even mean by that? When you're playing over the top, on top of the changes, that's like, this song's in the key of C, okay? Now, the second chord of the song pulls it right out, right? We have a E7, which is not in the key of C, but... and then an A7, which is not in the key of C. But these are all secondary dominants. So if you wanted, you could probably get by playing the A minor pentatonic here, or C major pentatonic, depending how you look at it. Right, that's the first big scale all the guitar players learn. And because of the key, So you could put that scale over the whole song, go up and down it, skip notes and whatever, and it's going to sound okay. Okay, that's what we call playing over top of the changes. You have the whole song here, but you're not worried about what's going on in the song. You're going to slap this scale over top all of it, okay? Which is all fine and dandy, especially if you're starting out, right? That gives you a good footing. Doing something that you're familiar with here, and using your ear to hear, okay, what's going on here? What kind of rhythm can I put over that? How does it connect? How can we talk back and forth if you're playing in a group, right? So it really helps if you're familiar with something. However, let's take it a step forward. Playing inside the changes, okay? So to do this, you really need to know the tune you're playing. You need to know, because like I said, the second chord of this song is an E7, right? That adds a G sharp, which is not in the key of C. So if I were to play a solo, right, A minor, and then when we get to that E7, if I can hit that G sharp, right, that would sound great over that. That sounds like, oh, we're making moves. And then you get to that A7, instead of playing A minor pentatonic, hit that C sharp, right? So if we got C, E7, A7, D minor. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Taking your chord tones and making sure you're hitting things so that we can outline the chords, okay? So let's take it a step back. How do we even do this? Like I said, you need to know the song you're playing. And if you don't, you need to be able to sight read and be confident enough in your ability here that you can see E7. Okay, I know that if I'm playing right here, I can hit that G sharp, or I can hit that open B, or I can hit that E, right? You need to be able to do that on the fly. Okay, so you know the chords. You know how to play the chords. How do you know what notes in the chords to play, right? Because jazz is full of chords that have a million notes in them, right? They're notorious for that. We've talked about this before. The most important chord tones in a chord, it doesn't matter what it is. This is it. Is the third and the 7. The third and the 7. Why? Because the third determines whether a chord is major or minor, right? That's a big factor, right? Is the chord major or minor? The 7th determines if it's a dominant or if it's a major 7, right? Is it dominant? Is it dissonant, or is this going to be consonant chord? Okay, those are the two main things. After that, where does importance come? Extensions, root, then fifth. Fifth is last. So that said, when you're learning how to do this, first step, I would say, learn your chords and learn your guide tones. That's what we call those, the third and the 7ths, or guide tones, because those two notes in any chord are what's leading your ear into the next chord. So if I were to play a G7, for example, and I just played the third and the 7, you can hear that wants to go, and there's your C. Okay? That's the third and the 7. So I'm not even playing a G here. That's a B and an F. And that's a tritone, and we've talked about that a ton in other videos. Why that works. So, that said, the third and the 7th. So if I were to take a look at this and wanted to plan out a solo, I see the first chord is a C. That's C6. So I could go, okay, what's the third of C? It's an E. What's the 7th? A B. Right? And we go to E7. What's the third and 7th of that? third is a G sharp, which is outside of the key of C, right? So that's what makes it tasty. And the seventh is a D. So already you got. And then what's next? We have A7. Third is a C sharp. 7 is a G. So let's take a look at this. I got E, B. I got G sharp, D. I got C sharp, G. What's next? D minor. We have an F. And we have a C. Okay? Back to E7. G sharp, D. A minor 7. So, all right, now we're at C instead of C sharp. D7. F sharp now instead of F natural. So you can see how it's outlining the chords. Back to C. Okay, so just using those, I mean, it's 2 notes per chord, third and the seventh, and you can hear the chord changes already. Okay, that's the first big step. Second, what do we have? Can you do arpeggios using these chords? So if I see that C, it's a C6, and that's a consonant sounding chord. So I know this is a major 7 type of chord, right? It's not dominant 7. So if I wanted to make an arpeggio, I could put the 6 in there. Or you could take it out. It's C7, C major 7, and C6, C6, 9. Any consonant sounding chord, you can pretty much swap out for the major 7, right? That's the bass consonant sound in jazz, right? The tonic, the subtonic are major 7. So when you look at the root of 7th chords. So there's your first chord. Finding the next chord is an E7. Okay. There's the arpeggio. E dominant 7. Next chord is an A7. D minor 7. E7 again. Put a flat 9 in there because we're going to A minor. D7. Back to D minor. G7. Back to C. Okay, so learning your arpeggios for every chord is a great exercise. You don't want to, I mean, down the road, you're probably not going to just be playing arpeggios up and down, right, for your solos. Although that's pretty hip if you swap in and out of that. Although, you know who does that is gypsy jazz players. If you listen to Django, it's a lot of arpeggios, but it's very, very, very fast. Those guys, I mean, they get away with murder. It's just playing arpeggios, but it's a big step in the process. So learning your arpeggios. Next step is being able to connect the chords with chromaticism if possible, depending on your context, right? So if I'm playing C6, C major 7, into E7, right? So I could play my C major 7 arpeggio. So now the question is, we're going to E7 here. And I'm on a C right here, right? Top E string. Where is the closest note I can go to that's in the E7 arpeggio. So it's right here. There's a B in E7. Right? So right? If I'm right here, where's the next closest? The next chord is A7. I'm on an E. Well, E is in A7. So I can stay here. Right? And on and on and on. So, I mean, those are the steps to playing inside of the changes. The most important part is hitting chord tones. And you can connect them however you want. This is a huge, it was a revelation for me anyway, is chromaticism, right? Your chromatic scale, which is just, right, all the notes in the 12 note arc there. Chromatic scale, it doesn't really matter where you start. It totally matters where you end. Okay? What the heck do I mean by that? Having target notes like your guide tones here means that, let's use our C to E7 example. I'm on C and I want to get to E7. Right? I'm going to say, okay, my target note's going to be G sharp. And I'm going to start on a note that's not even in C, and let's see what happens. So I'm soloing in C. And I want to get here. Let's start on E flat. And we're going to walk up to G sharp, see what it sounds like. So, I mean, you can tell we're on E7 now, even though I started on E flat, which isn't in either chord, okay? The chromatic scale totally depends, or is very powerful, and you really just have to focus on where you're going to end, right? It doesn't necessarily matter where you start. It definitely matters where you end. Okay? So connecting arpeggios, connecting guide tones with chromaticism is going to upgrade your soloing. So that's how you play inside the changes. That's what it means. And that's how you bring out the chord changes in your solos. Now, this is a lot more important if you're playing solo instrument, like it's just you on guitar or it's just you on piano, right? Playing those chord changes is going to be a lot more important because your listeners don't have the structure without you playing it, right? So if you just throw down an A minor pentatonic for 32 measures, you might lose some attention, right? I mean, that's going to get old. So, whereas, even if you're playing with a group, I wouldn't necessarily recommend throwing down an A minor pentatonic for 32 measures, although you could get some cool clashing tones there. Like with the A7, for example, if the band's playing an A7 and you're playing an A minor pentatonic, that might sound kind of cool. However, playing inside the chords, bringing out the chord changes in your solos, helps the band know where you are, helps the listeners, gives them structure, and I think it helps you with your playing. And you'll be able to play anything if you get that down. So anyway, it was a lot of information. I know we're not even at the whiteboard today, but hopefully you learned something. I know I was all over the place, but anyway, to recap, outline the chord changes, right? Know what chords are in the song. Figure out what guide tones are in each chord, right? You have your chord. What are the two most important notes? The third and the seventh. Figure that out for each chord. Now, can you play them right? Switching chords, play the guide tones. Now, can you do arpeggios, full arpeggios, not just the triads, but add the seventh in there. This is where knowing your chords comes in handy, because is it a dominant? Is it a major? Is it a major or minor chord, right? You need to know that. And finally, connecting the arpeggios or connecting the guide tones with the closest relative that guide tone to the next chord. And then at the end, chromaticism. How can you get from one point to another? You have to know your target note, and as long as you hit that at the very end of your chromatic scale, you'll be fine. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Bye.